What if I told you that while most people think mushrooms are something you buy for $3 at a grocery store, there are indoor growers quietly pulling in more income from a spare bedroom than most people make at their full-time jobs? No farm, no acreage, no tractor, just a grow tent, the right knowledge, and mushrooms that the mainstream market has never even heard of. I'm not talking about button mushrooms, not portobello, not the shrink-wrapped commodity product sitting under fluorescent lights at your local supermarket. I'm talking about specialty mushrooms that chefs are hunting for, that supplement companies are desperately trying to source domestically, that wellness consumers are paying extraordinary prices for, and that you can grow indoors year-round in a space the size of a closet. Some of these sell for $50 per pound. Some hit $80. A few cross $100 per pound for dried product, and the buyers are lined up. The global specialty mushroom market has already crossed $50 billion, and it is still accelerating. The demand is real, the supply is thin, and most commercial growers are completely ignoring these varieties in favor of the same commodity products everyone else is racing to the bottom on. Today, I'm revealing 15 of the most profitable mushrooms on the planet, and exactly why indoor growers are perfectly positioned to capitalize on every single one of them. Number 11 on this list looks like something that landed from another planet, and Michelin-star chefs are currently paying $100 per pound for it. And number 15, it has been used in sacred death rituals in Japan for over 2,000 years, and today it sells for more per ounce than silver. But before we get into it, do me a favor right now. Hit subscribe and drop a comment telling me, do you already have a grow space set up, or are you starting completely from scratch? I read every single one. Now let's get into it. Let's start with the mushrooms you've probably heard whispered about in wellness circles but never knew were sitting on a gold mine. These first five are the ones where the market already exists. The demand is already screaming, and domestic supply is so thin it's basically an open invitation. Lion's mane sells for $25 to $50 per pound fresh. And right now, neuroscience research is handing it a billion-dollar endorsement. Studies out of major universities are linking it to nerve growth factor stimulation, cognitive protection, and early-stage dementia research. Supplement companies want it. High-end restaurants want it. The problem is almost nobody is growing it domestically at scale. Think of it as the mushroom sitting at the exact intersection of brain science and fine dining, waiting for someone to show up. Reishi has been called the mushroom of immortality in Chinese medicine for 2 millennia, and the supplement industry is treating it exactly like that. Dried reishi sells for $20 to $40 per pound. It grows slowly, and it rewards patients with extraordinary margins. Think of it as the mushroom that has been valuable longer than most countries have existed and is only getting more so. Chaga looks like a burned rock growing out of a birch tree. It sells for $30 to $60 per pound dried, and the antioxidant research behind it has the wellness world completely captivated. Wild harvesting is inconsistent and unsustainable, which means cultivated chaga is the future. Think of it as the ugly black rock that prints beautiful money. Cordyceps became famous when The Last of Us terrified an entire generation, and now it's selling for $20 to $80 per pound depending on variety. Athletes swear by it for oxygen efficiency and endurance. Indoor cultivation methods are still new, which means supply is almost non-existent. Think of it as the mushroom that's already famous and just needs more farmers. Turkey tail rounds out this tier at $15 to $30 per pound dried, and it carries something none of the others have. FDA recognized clinical trials for cancer support. Johns Hopkins studied it. When mainstream oncology starts paying attention, your market just got enormous. Think of it as the mushroom that science just handed a $1 billion endorsement. Now we go deeper. These next four mushrooms are the ones most people have never heard of. This is where the real money starts to show itself. Maytake, also called hen of the woods, sells for $20 to $40 per pound. When you see it growing, you understand the name. It fans out in big, beautiful layers that look exactly like a hen ruffling her feathers. Japanese cancer research has put it on the radar of doctors who never thought they would recommend a mushroom to their patients. Restaurants want it, medical researchers want it, indoor cultivation is just now cracking open. Think of it as the mushroom that medicine and fine dining discovered at exactly the same time. Black trumpet sounds dramatic, and it earns that name. It sells for $40 to $60 per pound dried, and in French cooking, it is treated like a treasure. Dark, thin, almost smoky in flavor. It fruits in the dead of autumn, near fallen leaves and old trees, which is why most people never find it. Supply is almost nothing. Demand from high-end kitchens is very real. Think of it as the mushroom that rewards the grower willing to go where nobody else looks. Matsutake is the truffle of the East. Some regions of Japan restrict its export entirely. The smell alone, deep and spiced and completely unique, is enough to make serious chefs stop everything. It sells for $50 to $100 per pound, sometimes far more. Reliable indoor cultivation has barely been cracked, which means if you can grow it, you are one of almost nobody. Think of it as the mushroom that simply has not had enough farmers yet. Porcini runs Italian kitchens. Risotto, pasta, slow-braised meats. None of it tastes right without it. It sells for $40 to $70 per pound, dried, and is almost entirely wild harvested, meaning supply swings wildly with the weather. Restaurants hate that. They want a grower they can count on every single week. Think of it as the mushroom that every Italian kitchen in America is quietly waiting for someone to grow reliably. Drop a comment if you have ever actually tasted any of these. And we still have not gotten to number 15. Trust me, you want to stay for that one. Here is where most people assume the list gets less exciting. They are wrong. These next four mushrooms include one of the most visually striking things you will ever see growing in an indoor space, and it has been dangling over this list since the very beginning. Enoki in its gourmet form is nothing like the limp, pale clusters you find imported in plastic grocery store bags. Grown properly, long-stemmed, delicate, harvested fresh and local, it commands $15 to $30 per pound from high-end ramen restaurants and Korean barbecue kitchens that refuse to touch the imported version. The difference in quality is immediately visible. Think of it as the mushroom that proves presentation alone can double your price per pound. Yellow oyster stops people in their tracks. Bright, golden, almost luminous clusters that fan out like something from a coral reef. It sells for $20 to $40 per pound, and grocery store chains will not carry it because the shelf life is too short for their supply chains. That is your advantage. Local growers are the only viable source for chefs and farmers market customers who want something that looks as extraordinary as it tastes. Think of it as the mushroom that sells itself before you say a single word. King oyster has a thick, dense stem with a texture so close to scallop that plant-based chefs have built entire menu items around it. It sells for $15 to $35 per pound, and the plant-based food movement has created a surge in restaurant demand that commercial suppliers are genuinely struggling to meet. Think of it as the mushroom that the plant-based food revolution forgot to tell farmers about. And then there is number 11, lion's mane tooth variety, cascading white tendrils that pour downward like a frozen waterfall, like something that has no business existing in nature. Michelin-star kitchens are paying $80 to $120 per pound for it. The visual alone closes the sale before the flavor ever gets a chance to speak. Supply is nearly non-existent. Cultivation requires precision, but is absolutely achievable indoors. Think of it as the mushroom that looks like science fiction, and prices like it too. Number 15 is next, and it has been worth the wait. Most people will hear the word shiitake and think the list just got boring. That is exactly the reaction that keeps this opportunity wide open. Commodity shiitake, the kind grown in massive overseas facilities and shipped in sealed plastic bags, is saturated. Log-grown shiitake, cultivated locally, harvested fresh, delivered directly to a chef who can smell the difference the moment you walk through the door. That is a completely different product. It sells for $12 to $25 per pound fresh and $40 to $60 per pound dried. And the restaurants willing to pay that premium are not hard to find. They are just hard to supply consistently. Think of it as the mushroom that proves knowing your market matters more than knowing your crop. And then there is number 15, Agarikon. Even the name carries weight. This is one of the oldest medicinal fungi on Earth, documented in Greek medical texts over 2,000 years ago, used ceremonially by indigenous Pacific Northwest cultures who understood something about this organism that modern science is only now beginning to catch up to. Paul Stamets, the most respected mycologist alive, has called it potentially the most important medicinal mushroom on the planet. The United States Department of Defense funded research into its antiviral properties. Read that again. The Department of Defense. It sells for $60 to $120 per pound. And that price exists almost entirely because cultivation is so rare that buyers have almost nowhere else to turn. The aroma is ancient and resinous, like a forest that has been standing for centuries. The fruiting body itself grows slowly, deliberately, as if it understands its own value. If you can cultivate it, you are operating in a market with almost no competition and buyers who will pay whatever you ask for consistent quality product. Think of it as the mushroom that has been waiting 2,000 years for the right farmer to finally find it. This is the real insight underneath everything on this list. It was never just about mushrooms. It was about finding markets where demand is real, supply is thin, and almost nobody is paying attention yet. You do not need acres. You need a grow tent, the right knowledge, and the willingness to show up where everyone else is not looking. If you made it here, you already think differently than most people. While everyone else is watching commodity prices collapse and wondering how small growers are supposed to compete, you just spent time learning about 15 mushrooms that operate in a completely different world. Markets where the buyers are motivated, the prices are extraordinary, and the domestic supply is so thin that showing up consistently is often enough to win. That is not an accident. That is a mindset. And it is the only thing separating the growers who are quietly building real income from a spare room, and the ones still waiting for conditions to get easier. Conditions do not get easier. Markets do, when you find the right one. So here is what I want you to do right now. If this video delivered real value, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm to put this in front of other growers who need to see it, people who are one piece of information away from completely changing what they grow and who they sell it to. Then drop a comment below and tell me which mushroom you are growing first. Are you team medicinal, going after the supplement and wellness market with lion's mane, reishi, or agarikon? Are you team culinary, targeting the chefs and farmers markets with black trumpet, matsutake, or yellow oyster? Or are you team maximum margin, picking the variety with the widest gap between what it costs to grow and what the market will pay? I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to know where you are starting. If you have not subscribed yet, hit that button now and ring the notification bell, because what is coming next goes even deeper. I am building out full grow guides for the highest margin varieties on this list, a complete breakdown of where to find buyers for specialty mushrooms in your area, and exactly how to price your product so you are never leaving money on the table again. This is Fungi Fortune. The most profitable growing spaces in the world do not look like farms. They look like rooms other people walked past without a second glance. I will see you in the next one.